Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Rehab with Ronnie podcast. I'm excited for today's episode, mostly because it's a fun little piece of history for me to look back on because today is my due date. I am 40 weeks pregnant and I'm excited to just be filming an episode instead of being in the hospital. No, that's not true. I'm excited for her to come, but I'm also excited to get to batch content in the meantime and create meaningful conversations for you guys. So, the point of this episode is not the fact that it's my 40-week day. More so, I just wanted to make that known because I'm excited that I made it this far and yeehaw, it's been a fun pregnancy. Today, actually, I want to go over things that have been on my mind recently. I've been getting a lot of questions about how I started my business, what has culminated since then, et cetera, et cetera. And I think in retrospect, there are a lot of things that I would have done differently or at least wish I would have known. But I wouldn't be here today talking about it unless I had to go through the painful process of learning. So I want to talk about lessons I've learned since opening my business. And I whittled it down to 5 key points, although I could probably sit here and talk about 25 different things. The 5 most salient points, and then hopefully this is worth listening to and you learn a little something. Let's chat. As a little background, if this is your first episode listening to me, I recommend you go back to some of my earlier episodes where I talk about how I got started in my solo cash-based PT practice, and then come on back over to this episode afterwards because I go into much detail about how I got started, how I left the corporate world, my grassroots beginning, and where I am today. So check out those earlier episodes. Also, if you're new, hello, welcome. Thanks for listening. Back to what I was saying. 5 points, 5 lessons I think have been impactful to learn over the past year and a half of operating Rehab with Ronnie. Number 1, and I don't want to be boring, but we are going to talk about marketing for just a second. Word of mouth can only get you so far. That's my number 1 because when I think back on last summer and what I was expecting to happen over the summer months, I was totally banking on word of mouth referrals, more so than I think I should be. And don't get me wrong, word of mouth is super powerful, and people that genuinely love what you do, whether that's physical therapy or not, will be your biggest cheerleaders. But to rely on that solely is kind of bad business. And I wish I could go back to, you know, May 2024, Ronnie, and be like, hey, girl, why don't you try some other methods? Because I mostly was just going to local gyms, doing workshops, and just basically getting the word of mouth out around town. And it was effective. Absolutely. I think I actually have an episode on marketing strategies that work, and it did work. I'm not saying that it didn't, but the growth that I wanted to see in those early months didn't quite come. And I think it's because I was, 1, naive to the fact that there are other ways to market yourself, and 2, just banking on putting good faith in a good word of mouth and people just would be sent my way. And sometimes that happened, but oftentimes it didn't. And I would be looking at my week on Sunday night like, damn, I've got 8 patients on the schedule and I wanted 10, or I've got 10 on the schedule and I really wanted 15, or whatever it is. I feel like I can speak on this with some level of understanding now because I've tried other things. So, in addition to word of mouth being lovely, other good ways to market your business or advertise your business are meta ads. That's something that I've tried in the past. It's something that I'm currently trying. And those are as simple as little blurbs, like a photo blurb that why do I keep saying the word blurb? It's a photo on Instagram or Facebook that pops up that says, Chattanooga, looking for 3 active adults that are experiencing pain and blah, 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 blah. Or it could be a picture of you working at your clinic, or it could be a short reel that performed really well. And you'll actually see Meta will go, hey, this performed really well. Do you want to boost it? And boosting it can then prompt people that see that video to message you or get on your schedule or book a discovery call, whatever it is. I didn't do any of that until last fall, and I'm re upping it again this summer. And I've already seen some pretty good return on that investment. I think one of the reasons I strayed away from it in the beginning was because I didn't want to be salesy. I didn't want to be addy. I didn't want to annoy people. But the reality is, nobody sees your stuff. Nobody knows that you have ads out there. If they do, cool. Most people on the internet follow you and see maybe 20% of the content you put out there. So if you're posting ads, if you're posting your scheduling link, if you're posting whatever it is, they're probably not seeing it as much as you think they are, and you're not being as annoying as you think you are. So I recommend delving in a little bit to the Meta ads, to the Google Ads space. Google Ads is also something that I started doing back in June, and it just helps foster warm leads, hot leads, sometimes even cold leads if people are just like putting in their email address. But rather than totally banking on previous patients sending me people that they know or businesses in town saying, oh, yeah, I think Rehab with Ronnie would be a good fit, I realized I had to expand my search and be available to people that don't know who I am. Because at the end of the day, not a lot of people know who I am. And that feels kind of silly to say because I have like an online following and I have my own business and we have a full schedule. But Chattanooga is a city of, I don't know, 280,000 people. And the vast majority of them don't know who I am. So how best can I get these people to know who I am? Well, everybody has their phones. Everybody has the internet. And it's okay to put some feelers out there, put some paid ads out there to let them know about your business and why you would be a good fit. So, full circle, in closing, I would just say word of mouth, of course, is powerful, but explore other advertising opportunities if you're not seeing the growth that you would expect in the time period that you had set. And on top of that, I will say, while word of mouth is powerful and impactful, your patients aren't thinking about you that much. No offense. Like, let's say they have a really good experience. They finish up their 15 visit package. They get a t-shirt. They write a nice Google review. Sometimes that's it. And sometimes they're moving on with their lives and they're not thinking about you that much. And you might have thought, wow, they're super connected in the community. I thought that maybe they would send somebody my way. I've reached out to them and even asked, and I'm not really getting anything. That's okay. You're not on the forefront of their minds, and that's okay. But you can become on the forefront of other people's minds who you haven't even met yet by doing some ad work. So yeah, this is me talking to you, Ronnie, from last year. Don't be so lazy. Try and invest some cash money into those ads. All right, moving on. Point number 2. Oh, this is cute. I wrote them down before I started talking. Number 2, creating an amazing patient experience matters more than anything. But it's true. I know that's a little cringe, but it is true. The reason that I left the gym space that I had originally started in was because I didn't have enough control over the patient experience. Don't get me wrong, starting in a gym space is ideal, especially if you want the lowest overhead cost, almost a direct funnel of patients to come and see you. Fantastic. But as I started to grow, I started to realize this is not the end of the road for me here. Like, I could continue working out of this gym space, seeing clients, replace my income and be fine. But I personally want a better experience for the patients that are coming to see me. I mean, they're coming, they're paying out of pocket, they're in pain, they have expectations for recovery, and I want to be able to deliver all of that and more. I want them to walk into the space and be like, "Wait, this is so cool. This is amazing. How did you do this? Look at this." And that's what happens now. Literally last week somebody walked in and said, "It's so cute in here." I was like, "Thank you, girl." It's cool. It's like a nice mix between cute and performance athletic focused with my squat rack, and it's just very me. And but that doesn't even stop at the design space. I'm also talking about the time that I take to evaluate my patients. I moved my evals from 60 to 90 minutes because I just felt like the experience that I was trying to deliver to them could not be delivered in full in 60 minutes. So now they get 90-minute treatments with me, and they get individualized home exercise programs that are updated almost every week. And they get communication with me pretty much all hours of the day, which I should probably take the reins on that and not respond on a Saturday at 10 p.m. when they're texting me, but I do because I care. And it's the outstanding experience that they get from the start of their care until the end that really drives my motivation, honestly, and their motivation to continue coming back and getting better. It's a not a double-edged sword, not a two-way street. It's a win-win. They're more than satisfied with the care that they've received from start to finish. I feel super jazzed about the fact that I'm their physical therapist and I've been able to show them what physical therapy can be after many failed attempts in the outpatient world for a lot of these patients. And that's what keeps my groove going, honestly. It's the patient realization that, wow, I didn't realize that physical therapists could do all of this. And I've never been treated this way before by a healthcare professional. And now I feel so empowered to my own recovery and my journey. And it's just fantastic. It is the reason that I'm in the game, to be honest. And I don't think that that was lost on me last year, but I think it's just become more apparent as the months have gone on. Having as much say in the patient experience as you can creates a really great environment for you as a worker and then for them as your clients. So it's something that I'm continuing to refine and redefine, honestly, because now that I'm in my own space, I'm thinking, okay, wait, how could this be better? What if I had a bigger space? What if I had multiple treatment rooms and then maybe I had like a turf field and maybe we have these windows and this natural, I go off on tangents and maybe I'll never be fully satisfied. But bottom line is striving for it to be the best experience possible is top notch. So keep that up. Lesson number 3. And this one wasn't really a surprise to me back then, and it still isn't now. You will work weekends, and that's okay. And you should. And every day should be a work day. And that's okay. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, if it's something you truly love, then it's not work and you'll never work a day in your life. No, it is work. But if you're doing something on your own and reaping the benefits, then while it will feel like work, it will be much more rewarding, much more exciting. And overall, every single task that you complete is getting you that much closer to whatever goal you have set in mind. And that is likely, if you're like me, a personal goal, a goal to get your family from point A to point B, a goal to get your financials from point A to point B. I'm talking direct return on investments that you're making into your own business, into yourself, and that's fun. But it doesn't stop on Friday afternoon. For most people, it doesn't anyway. Some of my biggest work days are Saturdays and Sundays, and I like it that way. I have become sort of this untamable beast where like go on vacation and I'm restless and I just actually want to get back to the productive life of working on my business and all the different facets of it. And that's not to say that I can't relax, but 7 days a week, there is something going on. There is some type of effort going towards moving the needle a little bit closer to whatever goal I'm working towards within the business. And I genuinely like it that way. But I think going into business ownership with the expectation that you're just gonna clock out on Friday and we'll get back to it on Monday. It'll be fine. I've got lake plans this weekend, and then Sunday I've got this, and I'm getting brunch, and it's boozy brunch. We got bottomless mimosas. No, I mean yes, sure, occasionally, but a lot of the times you gotta stay focused. You can't think of your weekends as weekends anymore. They are work days where there's even less stuff getting in the way for you. So get after it on the weekends. Before I close out this point, actually, I was also thinking it really helps to have a partner in crime. And that doesn't need to be an actual business partner in crime, but at least somebody that is supporting you and cheering you on throughout. For me, in this case, it was my husband, but also my friends and my family, my siblings. Everybody was excited for what I was building and the potential for what could come. And so even though I was working on the weekends and doing things late at night and maybe skipping out on things to do something for my future, there was no bad blood because people were excited for me. So my husband and I went through a lot of it together, and that felt very encouraging because it's not this solo voyage where I'm just looking out into the empty abyss of the sea and have no idea if any of this is going to work or have any sort of direction. I had him and I had the family support. And I think that's really important. So find that wherever you can. Just even if it's finding somebody where it's a good friend and you can just text them and be like, "This is what I did today. This is what I'm working towards." And they're like, "Hell yeah, keep it up." But I hate the word accountability buddy. It's like having somebody in your corner that is witnessing all the work you're doing can feel good because if you feel like you're just working your ass off and nothing's really getting anywhere because it takes a while and no one is witnessing it either, you might feel like a hamster on a wheel. So, support system, crucial. Okay, number 4. Why did I write these down so lamely? Lesson 4, follow what you genuinely love to do. I'm sure I could have worded that better. But point is this. I love physical therapy. I love being a physical therapist. I love educating my patients, having that one-on-one time with them, doing a good old test, treat, retest, and finding something that was effective, researching things to trial and error with them if things aren't progressing maybe the way that we wanted them to. All of it. I really do. It's all encompassing. I love every aspect of it. I also genuinely do love content creation. And so as the year and a half, 2 years have gone by, I've started to lean a lot more into that, specifically with the good old written and spoken word. I love making videos, of course. I love connecting with everybody on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. But at my core, I love podcasts. I love working on my speaking skills and getting to connect with like-minded people or people that I'm excited to learn from. And so, hence this podcast. And I love writing. I always have. It's something that I was doing for probably 2 years prior to launching my newsletter. I would write something, I'd be like, "Damn, this is kinda good. I kinda wanna put this somewhere." And so that has led me to my newsletter. So point is, investing some time and some effort into things that you genuinely love to do, even if there's really not that much return on investment, is okay and is good, I think, because maybe one day there will be. Like, no, I don't make any money off this podcast and my newsletter is free, but it stimulates my creative brain. I think it makes me better as a business owner, as an educator, all of the above. And it could look so different for different people. I mean, say you love playing guitar. Investing some time into that, I think, is okay. I think it's good. I think it itches a different part of the brain. If I was solely focused on just business things and just marketing and building my caseload and yada, yada, it would be good and it would be fine and we'd be successful. But making myself a more well rounded person in this way has been paramount for me. I'm really thankful that I've done it. I will continue this podcast forever, probably, because I think it's one of the most cathartic and fun things that I do. So, anyway, invest time in things that you genuinely love doing. And maybe one day there will be some monetary return. Wouldn't that be cool? And honestly, while we're on the subject of gaining monetary return for things that you like doing, it's probably worth mentioning. Yes, I do occasionally make money off of social media, but that never would have been the case if I hadn't actually loved doing it in the first place and been interested in sharing my brain and interested in connecting with other people and talking about what I'm doing in life and in physical therapy, etc. Due to my love of the profession and my love of connecting with people online, I was able to make my social media part of the business that generates revenue. So that's kind of cool. And I think that's totally replicable and doable. And you guys should try it. Hello everybody. Let's talk about the Jane app for a second. If you haven't heard by now, Jane is my clinical management software that I use to manage everything in my day-to-day life that happens inside the clinic, whether it's patient documentation, scheduling patients online, running reports, creating my online booking link, and even sending automatic texts to patients to remind them of their visits. Jane is literally my go-to. I look back on the days that I was practicing without the Jane app with much regret for not just implementing this system into my systems from the very beginning. You can get a 1-month grace period with my code PT Ronnie 1MO. That's capital PTRONI number 1, capital M, capital O. Okay. Lesson number 5. Know what you suck at and do something about it. This one I think should be highlighted, underscored, put in bold. And it's been the biggest lesson maybe I've learned in the past year. As someone who, I've always considered myself type B, but in business ownership, I would say I'm pretty type A. Someone who likes to have their hands on everything, control of everything, kind of know the ins and outs of what's going on, and really just spearhead every different aspect of the business. I have realized that there are certain things I just don't want to do or don't care to do. I'll give you some examples. Number 1, building out my website. Number 2, SEO optimization. Number 3, creating Google ads. Number 4, running any type of report or doing anything that even remotely involves Excel. And knowing this, I had to have a couple difficult conversations with my husband because he was like, "Ronnie, you can't be so overwhelmed all the time and try to do everything and then also suck at this." No, he probably didn't say it that mean, but he was like, "If you're not willing to put the time in to learn this and you also hate doing it, why don't we outsource?" And outsourcing has been monumental. Right now, and this is not an ad, this is genuinely just what I'm doing. I'm using a service called Patch. It was founded by this guy who he had a big physical therapy clinic in Boston, built it up to like 6 or 7 practitioners, all through his own digital work that he did, like SEO optimization, Google ads, those things. And now he has a company that really just shows other clinicians how to do it, how to have a CRM, how to track leads, set up different email chains, all these things that I like. Even just saying this, my eyes are crossing. It's not interesting to me, but it is so necessary. And it took me up until this summer to realize I have to make a change. I have to ask for help, put some money down, and utilize other professionals to get things done that they will be better at and they will be more efficient with. And it's worth the time and the money, honestly. I want to be realistic about people's different financial situations they'll be in. No way a year and a half ago could I have invested enough money to make a difference in Patch, in Google ads, in Meta ads. These are things that I've added to my arsenal as I've become more successful in the business. In the beginning, like I'm not dropping however much money you would need to do all of those things. But I don't even think it needs to be an expensive thing. I think you can be resourceful and find people that are better at shit than you are. For example, when I was complaining about just SEO optimization and even just creating my website, my neighbor was like, "Hey, girl, just so you know, that's actually what I do for work. I'd be happy to take a look at your website and fix a couple kinks, free of charge, just in kind, if that's something you'd want me to do." So there are people out there that aren't going to charge you an arm and a leg. And it's worth looking into because if you're like me and you're starting out solo and you're trying to be the CEO and the chief PT and your own regional director and your marketer and your social media manager and your podcast editor and your video editor and your content planner and your newsletter writer and everything else. It like, there are so many hours in a day. So, outsourcing things is a smart thing to start doing. Even if it's just one or two things. Kind of think, what do I suck at? What would really help my business grow? And who can help me do that so that I don't have to do that? Okay? So that concludes my top 5 things I think have been most impactful for me to learn and recognize over the past year and a half. But as I'm closing up this episode, I'm thinking there's one more. I'm going to give you guys a bonus one. And this one's a little woo woo, but not really. It's important to recognize wins for what they are and bask in that a little bit, because goals that I set for myself in June of last year are reached by August or September. And instead of celebrating that, it was like, okay, cool. But so what's next week's goal? And I'm a very task oriented person. I like checklists. I like things to be checked off and then moving on, and we're creating another one. And each list is building up the pyramid a little bit, like one block at a time. I'm like reaching for something higher and higher. And I think that is great. It's a good mindset to have. But it's equally as important to recognize where you are in the journey. Because if you're not, probably there will be a sense of just this looming dissatisfaction with yourself. I think as humans, it's normal to be very goal oriented and maybe, unfortunately, a little dissatisfied with the present moment and looking forward to the future and not recognizing that at present you are already where you wanted to be last month or last year. It's just crucial to recognize that. One example for me was moving into the new space that I'm currently in now with my business. I remember it being so surreal that I was in there. And then within a month, the newness and the shininess had waned a little bit. And I don't know, maybe I was feeling like a little complainy that day, like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And I had to stop and just kind of like look around the lobby, look at my door, walk through the clinic, and almost lie to myself and tell myself this is the first time I'm seeing this. And it put a smile on my face. I was like, oh my gosh, I am here. I did this. This is crazy. 2 years ago, I would not have dreamt this, honestly. I wouldn't have dreamt it because the dreams keep changing. So what I thought was plausible 2 years ago versus now completely changed. And it's good to set lofty goals and it's helpful. That's how we progress as a society. But you got to take a second. You got to take a second and realize where you are. Whether that's like, oh my God, I just quit my job, or I just got my first cash pay patient. I just signed the lease for my new space. Whatever it is, celebrate it. Go out to dinner. I don't know, have a nice glass of wine. I think when my husband and I, when we hired our employee, we went out. We were like, whoa, this is so big. I never thought I'd be an employer. That's bananas. I guess in a way, it is just expressing gratitude for the current situation you're in and recognizing what it took to get there and appreciating it, and then having a clear, focused goal for moving forward into the next phase of whatever it is that you're working towards. I guess bottom line is just be present, right? Isn't that what we're all striving to do? Anyways, this has been a fun one. As a short little recap, we talked about marketing is more than just word of mouth, creating an amazing patient experience, working other days other than Monday through Friday, following what you genuinely love to do, knowing what you suck at, and outsourcing. And then, of course, my little bonus lesson that I just did a tangent on for 5 minutes. I, as always, appreciate anybody who's listening. I do often feel like I'm speaking out into a black hole. As I'm recording this, I'm staring I'm staring at a blank wall. Okay? So I'm in my guest room upstairs. Microphone 1 inch from my face, staring at a gray wall. Not the most inspiring podcast setup right now, but if you're tuned in, I appreciate you. I appreciate the reviews you guys write, the 5 stars, the comments, the emails I get about the podcast. It warms my heart. It fills it with joy. I will see you guys next week.